Howdy y'all, and welcome to Lex Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Uh, I am having some issues today recording this episode. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I said that. It's been, crazy. I I don't know what happened, but I started recording and I got distracted in the middle of the recording, and then next thing I know, like 47 minutes had gone by, and I'm like, oh well, I'll just re-record this and make a shorter video because that's a bit too long, I feel like. And so I re-recorded, got a phone call in the middle of it. And so when I came back, I was like, all right, so do my last 6 minutes of recording, whatever, and then we'll we'll call it good. And then when I just went to record or went to edit the video, I deleted everything but that 5 minutes of video. Which, yeah, means I get to start over. Alright, so I want to go over this way. I think. Make sure. No, I need to go this way. So yeah, so I guess I could tell my stories again for the 18th time. Maybe I can keep it under the 30 minutes though, and then it'll be all good. So my thing I want to talk about is D&D, obviously. We had our Wednesday D&D game, and it had a lot of the stuff that irritates me in it this week. We had random, no reason rolls, and we had I'm gonna make stuff up because I don't like what you're doing, and I want to side rail you just because, and all that good stuff. So oh, did this not? No, this is not the place. I gotta go south from here yet. So, we've been trying to fight this black dragon for a while. And we got told about it a long time ago. And an adult black dragon in the monster manual is like a CR 11 or something. And maybe a CR 14. How about that? It's a CR 14. That's what it is. So an adult black dragon in the monster manual is a CR 14. CR 14 means if a group of level 14s come up to fight it, it should be a okay fight for them. Just a easy-ish fight. Like. We're level 11. So it's a little bit harder for us, but I still felt it was doable. In fact, I felt it was probably doable when we were level 10. And so I have been wanting to go fight this dragon for a while now. And every time we try to go fight this dragon, well, he didn't really have anything I wanted. We get stopped. And I think the last time when I discussed we should maybe go fight the dragon, we opted to go into a dungeon instead because the dungeon creatures are lower level than the dragon, and we could probably get another level, and then that way we were a higher level to go fight the dragon. And so that's what we wound up doing. We went and we did this dungeon. Well, we finished the dungeon last week. And so when we left there, our DM he doesn't like to. I don't know exactly what he does. We're playing a pre-made campaign that he didn't make. We're using digital maps that he downloaded with digital tokens that he downloaded. And so there's really very little work on his end of things to run this game. But he won't let us do a lot of stuff because he, quote, isn't prepared. And sometimes he will say things like, you either do this thing that I have ready to go, or we skip this week because I'm not prepared. And I find that ridiculous. But that's what he does. Okay, real quick interruption here, but I did get multiple motion sensors up, so all my blades, you can see I had to put relays down so the cables would stretch, but all my blades are now on relays. All the motion sensors are set to only activate for zombies. And so I would like to make some more blade traps and probably some more motion sensors here to try and get a little bit more in the way of defense on this place. I have to say our multiplayer game, we've done the same thing, and the zombies were just crazy this last Horde night for us. So I'm afraid that the next Horde night is going to come through my defenses if the multiplayer is any indication. I'd also like to get rid of this hill, but in a nice way that doesn't involve explosions. Although getting rid of it via explosions would be fun too. But anyways, so back to the story. So we finally got to the point where the DM seemed like he was going to let us fight the dragon, and so we told him after the dungeon that we wanted to go to town and get some resist potions because we'd been told all about this black dragon. We had talked to another dragon who's the one who told us about the black dragon. He told us what to expect when we were fighting black dragons. We had already fought a green dragon, so we knew about the ancient green dragon a little bit already that we had run into earlier, but this black dragon was one we wanted to get rid of. Both the green dragon and the black dragon are killing people, but an ancient green dragon is way beyond the scope of our ability to do something about. And so we decided to do something about this black dragon, and so we wanted to get resist potions to help us resist the dragon's breath weapon. And so we bought acid resist potions, and then our DM sends us this message the night before our session. Oh, that black dragon I've been telling you about, it's actually a shadow dragon and not a black dragon. So your acid resist isn't going to work. You need necrotic resist. So just go ahead and change your necrotic or your acid resist to necrotic. And I'm like, oh well, at least he let us change them. But he's told us it's a black dragon for months of real life time. Why is it suddenly a shadow dragon? And so I'm like, well, I don't know what a shadow dragon is. Would that dragon who told us all about it being a black dragon expound on what a shadow dragon is? Oh, well, that dragon doesn't know anything about shadow dragons either. He just knows that it's a shadow dragon and not a black dragon. Okay, so we talked to an ancient, I forget what he was, bronze or brass or something, one of the good dragons, and he doesn't know what a shadow dragon is. Okay. So, we start the game, and I was looking at the map, because we have a map of the area, and I was looking at the map and where we're going, and I noticed it was next to this town called Womford, and we had just rescued this guy from Womford, and only we didn't bring him with us, we made him fend for himself. And so I was like, man, we should go out and rescue that guy. He would probably appreciate it if we would pick him up and take him home. And so we should totally pick him up and take him home. And so the DM was like, oh, do you do that? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. We pick him up and take him home. And so then he's like, it takes you 5 hours to find him. And I'm like, okay, but it only took us like 2 hours to get from where he's at to here. And we know where he's going and all that. And so he's like, well, roll perception checks. And so he makes us roll perception checks. We all roll really low. And I don't think that's the way perception checks should necessarily. Man, there's like a horde coming in while I'm standing here. And so So we go to pick him up, we find him, right? And only he made it take like 5 hours to find him, so we didn't leave till like he said 10. So, hey look, there's my blades working based on the motion sensors. Yay, motion sensors. Yay, blades. Chop, chop, chop. And so when we go to pick him up, we're like, he's like, do you fly down to pick him up? I'm like, yeah, we fly down and we'll grab him. And he's like, roll dexterity checks for me. I'm like, okay. So we start rolling dexterity checks, and he's like, you feel the ground tremble beneath you. There's a massive earthquake. I'm like, wait. We were on our flying carpet. Would an earthquake affect us while we were on our flying carpet? And he's like, well, yeah, you landed the flying carpet. I'm like, no, we flew down. Nobody said anything about landing. Because he's always taking what we say and then making our characters perform actions, which you're not supposed to do as a DM. Like we'll say, all right, we're going to stealthily go up to the door, and then we're going to open it to peek in. And then suddenly you open the door and you walk into the room, and all the back, like, whoa, why am I opening the door and walking into the room? That's not what I said I wanted to do. Well, that's what you said you were doing. You were stealthily opening the door. I'm like, yeah, I'm peeking in the room after I crack open the door to see what's in there. Nobody said anything about slamming the door open and charging in like I own the place. So apparently when I said we fly down and grab that guy, meant we landed, we got off our flying carpet, and then we led the guy over so that he could step onto the carpet, even though we would all be sitting. And I would imagine that we would just stop the carpet off the ground, about chair height at least. Right? I mean, so he's like, fine, you don't get knocked prone, but boulders fall. I'm like, well, where did the boulders come from? You didn't describe anything that had boulders on it. You can't just suddenly add things and make us take damage from them, man. That's ridiculous. So we took boulder damage, and then the earthquake apparently was from a purple worm. And he had been going on and on about XP budgets, and how there's a certain amount of XP you're supposed to gain every day, and it changes from level to level, and he wanted to know what level we were so that he could put in enough things for us to have to fight, because he didn't think it was right for us to just go and face the dragon. Because that wasn't enough XP to meet the daily amount of the daily budgeted amount of XP. He's never mentioned an XP budget before. I personally don't think I've ever heard the term before, so I had to ask him what an XP budget was, and so that's what he said. He found a chart someplace, and the chart said how much XP we were supposed to do, so he wanted to make us fight enough things so that when we finally fought the dragon that day, that we had met our XP budget for the day. That has never happened before. I don't know what he's talking about. He just threw in this purple worm so that we would take a bunch of damage because he thought we were going to fight the dragon the same day. But because he kept making things take longer than they should, we fight the purple worm. It attacks. It moves farther than it's supposed to. I hate any creature that has a special ability that removes it from your sight at this point, because he uses it every round, even if it wouldn't actually happen. And so it burrows completely out of sight. Now, when it burrows in the ground, the book says it leaves a 10-foot tunnel behind it, and it can only move 30 feet. And so he says it moved 30 to 40 feet down. And I'm like, well, can I still see it? Because I can see up to 60 feet in pitch black. Well, no, my guy can't see it anymore. It must have turned. I need to roll a perception check. So this is one of those things. In the previous video that I recorded, I called it behind the paywall, because it feels like everything's behind a paywall. You've got to make your rolls before you can find out the information. Everything's got to be paid for. And so even though I can see 60 feet, I suddenly can't see 60 feet. I can't see 30 to 40 feet without a perception check, and it's so far down there at 30 to 40 feet because our DM doesn't know how far any distances actually are, that it has apparently curved off to the side and I can no longer see it. And so then our sorcerer tries to see it, and he doesn't have any better luck because he also has to roll a perception check and doesn't roll whatever the high number is that our DM has decided on, because if it's not a natural 20, it probably isn't going to succeed for him. And so we have to wait for it to come back to the surface. So we're all like, well, we hold our actions and our spells and whatnot, because you can hold like one action, whether it's casting a spell or attacking or something like that. And so my rogue holds attacks, and my cleric, because I play two characters, holds a spell cast. And so then even though it can only move 30 feet, it moves about 60 feet to come up behind us and attack again. And only this time I have my cleric cast hold monster, and so it fails its check. He says in there that even with a +4 to its roll, it fails its roll. Well, when I looked up the purple worm later, it actually should have rolled with a -1, not with a +4, because he made a big deal about the fact that it was subtracting 1 from his rolls, and that wasn't right. But that is the actual stats on the purple worm, and it should have rolled a -1, but he changed it to a +4, but still wasn't high enough to break the spell, and so it was unable to do anything. It was paralyzed, basically. Oh, this is so far down through here. And if I just had that zombie fall off and into my pit down there, and I don't want that to happen again. Plus, I want to bring some blade traps out on this side, and I can't do that with this giant pile of dirt here. And so we kill the purple worm, and then we leave there. He's all mad that we killed the purple worm. I thought you guys would just grab that guy and fly off, not stay and fight and kill the purple worm. Hey, you know what? We tried to just land and take him, but no, you had to do damage to us because you wanted us to be hurt before we go face this dragon, because you don't want us to face this dragon for some reason. But you've already told us she's an evil dragon that kills people. We're the heroes. What did you think we were going to do? I mean, seriously. If you didn't want us to fight the dragon, then why did you ever mention the dragon? It's not a good dragon. It's an evil dragon that kills people. In fact, when we got to her place later, it was surrounded in dead bodies. She is not a nice person. And she's a dead person now. But she wasn't a nice person. And so... So then we take this guy back home to his place and to his city and drop him off. And then there was a nearby place. Now the town we took him to was called Wamford, and it was a small town on one side of the river. And then on the opposite side of the river is this hill. On top of the hill is this place called the Barge Right Inn. Now, to me, the Barge Right Inn is an inn. Apparently that's not the case, but he describes it as a small cluster of buildings on top of a hilltop that someone has put some walls around. That's the way it was described to us. And so then we go in. The inn is one building out of like 50 buildings on top of this hill. It seems like a lot of buildings to be on top of a hill. And so we stay the night, and when we get up in the morning, our bag of holding is gone. And so, as a cleric, every morning I can switch around spells. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll switch my spells to one of my spells to Locate Object. And I cast Locate Object. Locate Object has a range of 2,000 feet centered on your character. It's 1,000 feet in every direction. So it's 2,000 feet diameter circle centered on your character. That was not enough to find it in the 50 building town, because after I cast the spell, the town suddenly became... He's like, you don't sense it anywhere. I'm like, well, don't I cover like the entire hilltop? He's like, no, it's the town is like 3 miles across, and so your 1,000 feet can't cover most of the city. I'm like, okay, well, it lasts 10 minutes, so I'll go walking around, I guess. And he's like, well, you walk around for 10 minutes and then you don't find it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll cast it again and walk around for 10 more minutes. And so then he starts having the sorcerer do the stupid NPC stuff, asking questions and getting clues and hunting down the mystery of the missing sack. And so we finally... I cast 3 times Locate Object. So it's 30 minutes of walking around this town that originally was a small cluster of buildings on a hilltop. Suddenly was a massive city, 3 miles across, and I did not find it. He made me roll investigation checks, I think, to see if I could pick up the object. I cast the freaking spell that locates an object I'm familiar with. Does not require an investigation check. I don't know what is... And so... I mean, that's the whole point of the spell. And this is a dumb thing anyways. It was just a time waster. It wasn't a real thing. And so the sorcerer eventually with the help of my rogue, gets names of people to talk to, and then they proceed to hunt down and kill the person who took our sack. And he was very upset by this, our DM. He was like, I can't believe you just killed that NPC. Like, he took our sack. What did you expect to happen? You accuse us of being bloodthirsty, and then you have someone steal our stuff. I mean, well, he's got family members and stuff in here. They're gonna be upset now. Like, yeah, I don't care about your NPCs, dude. Your NPCs are annoying. I wish you would stop making us talk to them. Just almost totally. We don't need a giant conversation with every person we come across. What we need is to... You want to do an NPC thing? Let's do an NPC thing. But that's not the kind of campaign we're playing. We're playing Stop the Elemental Cult. We don't have time to carry on lifelong friendships with fake people who have nothing to do with what we're doing. So, I mean, we even had to sit there while he read us a letter from NPCs that we had met previously who sent us a message this week. And it wasn't even any actual information. It was... I am dreading... He keeps hinting that he's got something special for us to do once we finish with this campaign, and he's very excited about this special thing. But yeah, so we got our sack back, and then he's like, well, I didn't expect you guys to kill off the NPC, but I hope you enjoyed the adorable quest that I set up for you. Adorable? Are you kidding me? Nobody wanted to do that. And then you said that my abilities don't even work, and you changed the size of the town so that I couldn't use my abilities. Why do you think that makes it adorable? It makes it annoying. The sorcerer is like, I am sick and tired of this crap. So then we get to the dragon. Right, that was our whole goal for the evening, was the dragon. And we get there, and on the way in, there's like 60 dead bodies outside of this place. And so our sorcerer decided to look through the bodies to see if he could find anything. And it annoys me, but our DM has this thing where natural 20s on skill checks, which isn't a thing, means something special. And so when you get a 20 on investigation, you get something special. And if you can roll a second d20 and get another 20, you'll get something super special. And so then we have to sit through him talking about how you get something, because he has to tell us every time how you're gonna get something super special if you can get that second 20. And so I don't think we ever have. And so we go through that, and then he's like, well, you're gonna find something good because you got that natural 20, but I don't have time to figure it out right now. What? He just rolled. What do you mean you have time to figure it out right now? You said he got something. Just look in your book. You're not making this stuff up, dude. It's in the book. Just look up something in the book and give it to him. You're wasted our time with that letter from people we haven't talked to in months because they're not part of this campaign. We got a letter from people from another campaign just checking in with us and letting us know how things were. So you got time for that, but you don't have time to look up actual loot that we could use going into this fight. Thanks. And so we get into the fight, and him and the sorcerer have gotten in this annoying habit of starting a conversation, and then the sorcerer attacks during the conversation, and so he lets the sorcerer get basically a surprise attack every time we talk to somebody who's a bad guy. And so this time when he did it, it was an illusion, and so the spell didn't affect the person, and so I'm like, whatever, could we just please, at this point, get the fight started? I just want to kill this dragon and go so we can stop having any kind of goals, because obviously you don't want us to have any kind of goals. And he also had this NPC who is supposed to give us information, who never gives us useful information, run up and tell us about more quests that we could be doing, but then told us we couldn't do them last night because he wasn't prepared for them, and that we'd have to save those for a different session. And so that was all before the dragon. Then we get into the dragon. We start fighting the dragon, and because a lot of our abilities require being next to the creature, the dragon spent the entire fight a minimum of 10 feet off the ground, so that nobody could get next to him, except for his monk. His monk just suddenly magically learned the power of flight, and proceeded to... Alright, he didn't really learn the power of flight, but there's a couple times where I've tried to jump up and attack something where he told me I couldn't jump up and attack, and then his monk jumps up and attacks last night. Because. And so, yeah. But the Shadow Dragon apparently has the ability to hide and stuff, and because the cave was dark and I have this spell called Dawn that hits 60 feet diameter, that makes it sunlight and does damage, I just dropped that in the middle of the cave and just kept that up the entire fight. And so we took down the dragon even though we couldn't get next to it to use our super powerful abilities. We were able to whittle it down until it was dead, and it didn't really do... I mean, it did a lot of damage to my cleric. It just kept attacking my cleric over and over, because my cleric had the... Oh, I forgot to sell all that iron and that gun to that guy. Whoops. Because my cleric had that spell up. Apparently it wanted that spell down, and so it just kept attacking my cleric over and over again, ignoring everybody else. And but it died, and so we killed the dragon. Yay! And then he's like, "You didn't bother to roll the loot table because I didn't think you were actually going to be able to get this far tonight. So, yeah, I'll figure out loot." And I'm like, "Don't forget that other thing that we found earlier that you didn't bother to look up." Oh yeah, that too. I'll make sure that gets on the list too. And I'll let you know sometime, probably before next week, what you found down here. We didn't even roll investigation checks or anything. He just refused to tell us what the treasure was, and then talked to us, like chit-chatted with us for an hour after that, but couldn't... I'm like, why don't you roll it now while we're chit-chatting? Well, I don't really want to... I'm too lazy to do that tonight. So you complain that you can't do stuff until you're prepared for it. So that means by default that you can do this, so you must have prepared for it, but you basically loaded up one map and 2 tokens tonight. We got a map we've used a dozen times to fight the purple worm in, and the purple worm, and then a map for the cave that this dragon is in. Even though it could fly 50 feet in the air, we were still underground in a cave, and the dragon token, and that was it. That's the only 3 things you actually, quote, prepared for tonight. Because everything else came out of the book, or was just that silly run around town looking for your bag thing that you called adorable. Yeah. So next week, I guess we're going to hunt down this giant who is gathering the leftover cultists from the 2 groups that we killed their leader. 2 down, 2 leaders to go. 1 giant, apparently. And maybe some gods. I'm pretty sure there's some evil gods in this we're going to have to fight. but we haven't got that far yet. So, all right, with that, I'm going to call it a day. So click like if you'd like, subscribe if you can catch the next one, and I will talk to you later.